Back here on ESPN Radio 94.1, joined by a special guest. She is going into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame for the class of 2019, along with Jeff Burton, Wendy Larry, Mark Lindsay, Heath Miller, Buster O'Brien, and Tom Yeager. And you know her from Old Dominion University, where she had numerous roles in sports information and communications. Started out, though, as a sports writer for the Daily Press, first full-time female sports writer. We say congrats on going into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame to Debbie White. Debbie, how are you? And congratulations.
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you so much. Appreciate
it. Let's start there. Your first notoriety, first female sports writer in Virginia with the Daily Press back in the late 1970s. When you embarked on that journey, what did you know then and what do you know now after doing it?
Oh, geez, nothing. I was a journalism major in college, and my father was a college football coach, and I thought, well, I'd hung around him enough that I picked up things and thought I might like to write about sports. So sports writing seemed to be the natural progression, and so off to the Daily Press I went, just 2 weeks after graduation.
What was the best part of that job? And I'm sure you've got a lot of stories you could tell from covering sports back then, and some of the biggest changes you've seen from then to now and just the area in general.
The best stories. I mean, the people I had the rural high schools, as we say, and they were just so excited to have a reporter come to their games because it didn't happen with regularity. So they treated us just wonderful. But the biggest difference is the technology. I mean, I was carting around a portable typewriter and a fax machine with a long extension cord, and now you could do it on your phone and you could file it. So. That's the biggest change, and I'm envious of that, that I missed some of that, but although we do it now. So
yeah, there's probably pluses and minuses to all the technology.
There is.
Covering prep sports, and it's become such a big part of this area, not having the major professional sports teams, and of course you make that move to Old Dominion. What drew you to ODU?
Well, I'm from Virginia. I was at Siena College in upstate New York. I kind of wanted to get back to my roots. The opening was there. It was primarily with women's basketball, and a lot of people think, well, that must have been a natural. I really hadn't been around women's basketball. And to land at ODU in '79 with Nancy Lieberman and Ann Donovan and Ing Nissen, holy moly, I mean, what a pleasure, privilege, and an education that was for me.
Yeah, I was speaking to someone in there earlier that was talking about how they went to Old Dominion, they didn't even quite grasp just the gravity of what Lieberman and the late great Ann Donovan and Marianne Stanley, who Wendy Larry just spoke with, talked about. And then watching what Wendy did after Marianne Stanley, I mean, to follow up a legend and be legendary, it's got to mean a lot to go into the Hall of Fame with her, right?
Oh, well, it means the world. I mean, it really does. I mean, we've had a lot of miles together, and I have such great admiration and respect for what she did at Old Dominion. I mean, to win 17 straight conference championships is an unbelievable feat that will stand for many, many years. And just a privilege for me to go in with her.
We're chatting with one of the newest members of the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame. That's Debbie White here on ESPN Radio 94.1, longtime sports information director at ODU, and, of course, got started in the high school sports realm with the Daily Press back in the 1970s. Watching what that Old Dominion team did, following up the greats of Donovan and Lieberman and so many others, what Wendy Larry accomplished, and that time of women's basketball and the sport in general, that really, I think, put Old Dominion on the map, didn't it?
Oh, I think it did. I mean, there's always people who like to beg to differ, but it certainly gave us some national exposure that we didn't have. And, I mean, I can still go places, even nowadays, and with people of a certain age, if they see I've got an ODU hat on or something, they say women's basketball. They just remember it. And yet it was 30, 35, 40 years ago that we were really on the map and winning those great championships.
And seeing some other sports come along, the men's basketball program. I mean, field hockey's got its accomplishments to go down the baseball. Football, you've watched football come back to Old Dominion. What's that been like for you as your tenure there at ODU came to a close? What was that like?
That was truly another highlight for me. Again, as I said, the daughter of a football coach, so having football resurrected, if you will, on our campus was just an incredible, thing to work with. And the day they ran out of that tunnel on September, whatever that date was, 4th, I think it was just incredible for me and for all the people who had worked so hard to put that program together.
Good more minutes here with Debbie White, the ODU great, going to the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame here on ESPN Radio 94.1. You also served on NCAA and U.S. Olympic committees. I know we don't have enough time to go through all the details of that, but kind of take us behind the scenes a little bit, what that experience taught you and what it was like for you.
Well, I really wouldn't have even been on those committees had it not been for what we were doing at ODU. I mean, I think our work with women's basketball, certainly the success of our men's teams, helped catapult me into those committees, which were wonderful. But that just gave us a greater sense of being connected with other people across the country, a lot of movers and shakers. I think it helped ultimately in helping us get awarded some NCAA tournaments. We hosted so many events at ODU through the years. So it's all about connections, but ODU put me in that position, otherwise I would not have been.
And speaking with so many coaches, the thing I always ask them is, what's your favorite memory or moment? They always talk about the relationships they built, even more than the games or that player or so forth. For you, in a different role, but also being close to them, is that same true?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I'm asked that all the time. It's difficult. You can't name one, but you can certainly name people and the great athletes and the coaches and the administrators and my staff members. The relationships are what make your career and what you miss to the most, I think, after you're gone.
That's true, Fernanda. Thank you for your time. What have you been most surprised about in your career? Be it involving athletics or even just away from it? Because you've been involved with so many different things. Anything really just surprised you that, wow, I didn't see that coming?
I didn't see technology doing what it's doing now. I think the biggest surprise for me is probably the emergence of social media and how it has changed communications totally. I mean, back in my day, we would plan to do a press release and you'd pick the time and you try to keep it secret. There's no secrets anymore. One person tells somebody it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram. So that to me has been the biggest change, but I also think it's been a good one. I think it makes communications field work a little harder. You've got to be more aware of what's going on out there in the world, and you got to be able to work social media to your advantage.
I think some of the older people are against it, and I get it because it wasn't there when they started, but in today's, if you're covering teams or you're involved with teams in athletics, if you're not using it, you're left behind in a way.
Oh, absolutely. I tell people one of the funniest things was in my closing years at ODU, I was on the field twittering, if that's even a verb. Tweeting. And it's a lot like a throwback to early journalism. You're just doing little mini stories and punching them out and hope that you're beating somebody before they know it, before you do.
Well, and you were working with the Daily Press, and I own VirginiaPreps.com. I think the new thing for a lot of companies and publications is how can you turn this into revenue as opposed to just putting out the breaking news. Last one, and thank you for your time. I could speak with you all day. Debbie White here going into the Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, our guest on ESPN Radio 94.1. What's Debbie White up to these days?
I work part-time, 3 days a week for the Atlantic 10 Conference over in Newport News. My husband and I built a home in Williamsburg 2 years ago, so I keep my fingers in it, but I still get a 4-day weekend, and I still get to kind of ease into this whole retirement thing.
Hey, you're never fully retired.
No, I don't think anybody ever is, yes.
Well, congratulations on a well-deserved accomplishment and a great career. Debbie White with us here on ESPN Radio 94.1. Thank you so much.
Thank you.